Hello folks, Jack Kelly here. Figured I'd make a video today about an elk hunting journey moving from Noslers over to Bergers. I've been reloading for elk hunting for some years, and I thought I'd just chat about what I've used and what's worked for me. First, years ago, I decided to choose an elk gun. My father had used a Weatherby Vanguard and 270 Magnum, and I was going to buy the same gun. But when it was time to purchase, I discovered that those Weatherby Vanguards were made in Japan. And I'd just been to Japan, and due to their closed markets, there were pretty much no U.S. goods for sale in Japan. So when I came back to the States, I said, hey, I'll buy a rifle like that, but I'm going to try to find one made in the U.S., not one made in Japan. I wanted an alternative. And I also wanted a cartridge with similar characteristics to the 270 Weatherby Magnum. And when I looked at it, looked at all the charts, the 7mm Remington Mag pretty much was the same as a 270 Weatherby Magnum. So I needed to find a rifle for that. First, I bought a rifle which was a Remington 700 BDL, which had the blued barrel and the nice glossy wood stock. This rifle worked great for me for years, but I nicked the stock pretty good one day while sliding down a gorged, water-choked ravine in New Zealand. I did get a nice tar, though, out of the hunt, and you can see it right there in the middle above me. Yeah, as I got back to the cabin that night up in the middle of the wilderness there in New Zealand, I realized, hey, you know what? A rifle is really a tool, not something pretty to hang on the wall, and I shouldn't need a rifle that needs special care. So when I got home, I fixed the stock up a little and I sold that rifle, and then I bought the exact same rifle in a Remington 700 stainless synthetic, which is this rifle right here. Great rifle, made in the United States, wonderful, wonderful gun that drives nails. Now, I didn't need to worry about rain on the barrel, nicks in the stock, and so forth. And now I began to reload more in earnest, and I settled on this bullet right here that you see, which is a Nosler Partition, a 175 grain. It had very good reviews and very accurate results on the range. So I loaded up a whole bunch of those with some Reloader 22, and I went to the range. I had 4 different cartridge overall lengths that I tested on, and I tested different powder loads with it, tested them all for accuracy. One of them was really good with about a 3/4 inch grouping, a 3/4 inch grouping at 100 yards. And that was out of my factory Remington 700. It was a great rifle. I then worked up and printed up long-range ballistics for that cartridge with an average muzzle velocity of about 2,900 feet per second. And once this was done, I went out to a long-range shooting range where I could shoot as far as I want to compare the printouts of the program to the actual results I had. They were fairly close, it just needed a little bit of tweaking. I ended up taking many animals with that load, and I was generally happy with it. One of the things I didn't like, though, was that an elk, when hit right in the heart-lung region, would take several more shots to go down. And in that time, it would go 100+ yards, and it would go, on average, maybe 30 seconds prior to dropping. Not really nice when it's right at last light, 20 minutes after sunset, and it's black forest, and you shoot, and that elk runs off into the woods, somewhere out there 100 to 150 yards. You wait for a while, now it's really dark, and you have to go try to find a blood trail. But that's how it was. That was hunting. So, one fine Saturday morning, I was sitting here, surfing the internet, and I came across a video that was made by Mike Davidson up at Gunworks in Cody, Wyoming. And he was hunting some high country elk. And he was using one of his custom 7mm Rem Mag rifles. And I have links attached down below for all the things I was using here. He ranged the animal in that video at about 1,000 yards, and it was a nice big bull elk. He dialed his scope in, and he let the bullet fly. That bullet hit the large bull, and the bull dropped right where it was standing. I was amazed. It wasn't a spine shot, it wasn't a head shot, it was a heart-lung, yet for some reason that bullet going into that elk right there dropped it right where it was. I didn't get results like that at 200 yards, and he was getting results like that at 1,000 yards. So I called up Mike and chatted with him, asked what kind of bullet he was using. And he said, I'm using Berger a very low drag VLD hunting bullet. So I did some research. I called up Berger and I worked up some loads for these. I also looked up some of Gunworks' other videos, and I used their Gunworks long-range do-it-yourself videos, linked below, to tune my rifle in. I glass bedded the action, I refined the trigger pull, I did a lot of things that they recommended to my factory Remington 700 to make it even more accurate and more stable. I also compared the ballistics and the energy tables of the Bergers and the Nosler Partitions, and I'll show those here. And when you look at that, I've got a Berger 180 VLD, which is this bullet right here, against a Nosler Partition 175. They've got, the Bergers are much more slippery bullets. They've got a much higher ballistic coefficient. And roughly they were both at about 2,900 feet per second muzzle velocity coming out the end of this barrel. And I was doing ballistics for about 7,000 feet. And it turned out that a Berger, the energy that a Berger bullet has, this Berger bullet has, at 800 yards is the same energy that this Nosler bullet has at 600 yards. You get an extra 200 yards of energy on your bullet, and it's the energy that's doing the killing, the hydrostatic shock. It's the energy that does the killing, the hydrostatic shock for the animal there. So here you can take a look at the table, and again you can see I've highlighted in yellow. You can see I've highlighted in yellow the energy at where it's about 1,700 foot-pounds. It's 600 yards for the Nosler, 800 yards for the Berger. Now that I had energy comparison, I went to ballistic calculations, and I used shooterscalculator.com for that. Link is down below. And I went out to the range again to verify the ballistics. And that's the video that I'll show here now. And all I'm showing is essentially when the bullets hit the steel, trying to verify the ballistics, which I printed out ahead of time.
All right, I'm out here doing some shooting. There I am, my smiling face. You can see the big prairie around here. Sighting the rifle in. I'm shooting at these targets here. You can see that little silver spot right there in the center. That was my shot at 400. Coming to here, these are some of my earlier on targets. And then this one here that you can see upper right, I've got a shot here and a shot here. Those are 500-yard shots. And then I adjusted it down on the scope, put it right here in the middle. So I'm set for 500 now. And now I'll go out and do the 6 through 1,000. And I'm shooting from way down that road down there. Way out there. Silver dot right there, upper left. That's my first shot at 600 using 13. All right, still out shooting there. You can see it's about 24 diameter, 12 from the center. This is these are my shots at 700. I've got one just left the center, one just a little bit down, about 4 inches from center, 5 inches. Oh, gotta look at the sun. There you go. Well, that's what we got. Right on the bottom, right down here. It's 800 yards at 18, about 4 inches apart, but all the way at the bottom. I need to go to like 18 and a half. So good night, Gracie. 2 shots at 18 and a half at 800 yards. They're about 8 inches apart, and down and left and center. Definitely perfect for killing an elk at 800. Not a problem there at all. Looks like maybe 18.75 might be better to raise it up slightly. My 2 shots at 800 yards. You can see one of them hit right there, the other one hit right there, just off dead center with minute minute of angle, sub angle like 1/4 inch or so, 1/4 MOA or less. Within 2 inches, less than 4 inches from bull at 800 yards. So anyway, that's what it looks like right there.
Once I had this complete, I headed out to the field to do some elk hunting with these new bullets. And here's some stats on elk that I have taken. And you can see here, you'll notice that the Nosler Partitions, those are the ones in yellow, averaged about 3 shots per elk, with each going 100+ yards and taking several minutes to go down. The Bergers These, on the other hand, were basically one-shot kills, with the elk going down the moment they were hit. All of the bullets, be they the Noslers or the Bergers, were placed in the heart-lung region at similar distances. The only variable was the type of bullet being fired. Bottom line, I continue to be amazed with these Bergers. They perform both their energy and their lethality. I have some old boxes of Nosler Partitions right here. Well, I'll probably never reload with them, unless for some reason I can't find Bergers and I run out, then I'll put some cartridges together like that. But from now on, I'm using the Bergers. For me, they're the way to go. I'm aware that there are many folks that speak out against using a thin-skinned bullet like a Berger for an elk, saying that a bad shot will simply result in a wounded elk. My answer to that is only take shots in which you have confidence. Proof is in the pudding, as they say. One of the other things I decided to look at with the Bergers was, hey, if I'm shooting the 180 grain VLD bullets, perhaps even the 195 grain for elk might be a little bit better. So I loaded up some rounds with that, went to the range, compared the ballistics, and it turns out when you go to the Berger stability calculations on their websites, these 195s coming out of a rifle require a barrel twist which is much quicker, much tighter than a standard factory barrel twist, where the bullets kind of move into the unstable range, especially at longer shots. And when we're hunting, our hunting will be anywhere, I mean, we'll hunt from 2,000 feet up to 10 or 12,000 feet. And so I need a bullet that's stable, all temperatures, all distances, all elevations. And the Berger 195s didn't provide that for me. And so after loading some of these up and working with them a little bit, I moved back to the Berger 180s. I then, down the road, decided to go ahead and take my rifle and say, you know what, I'm doing a lot of backpack hunting. That's mostly what we do up in the wilderness. And you know what, that Remington 700 in stainless synthetic is a pretty heavy rifle. I should probably try to find something that's a little bit more along hunting for the mountains. And so I went out and I replaced my Remington 700 with this really nice Kimber Mountain Ascent, lightweight. It's several pounds lighter than the Remington 700. And I've got a nice Leopold Vari X6 sitting atop it in a 3-18. With this original Remington 700, I put on a Leopold VX6 4-24, and I find that this scope is not appropriate for a hunting scope. It's too heavy, too wide, too much magnification. You'll never go to 24 power out in the field, and if you do and you take that first shot, any attempt to reacquire the animal in the second shot is not going to happen. So when I moved from this over to the Kimber, I still went with the Leopold Vari X6, but I moved it from the 4-24 to the 3-18. This is a much better scope for hunting, much more lightweight, especially for backpack hunting. Proof is in the pudding, as they say.